Okay, so my memories of going to Chuck E. Cheese are that it always kind of smells like dirty socks and Fritos. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. How are you doing today? I'm excited to talk to the director of Willys Wonderland. Kevin Lewis is going to be with us shortly. He made this bizarre WTF indie horror comedy starring Nicolas Cage. We're going to get all the details from him. I don't know anything about the behind the scenes of this movie, but if you've seen the trailer for this film, or just even if you've seen stills from this movie, you're definitely going to be interested in hearing all about it. Before we do that, I want to plug our event. That's right. Award This is the biggest night for independent films. As you know, part of our mission at Film Threat here is to champion the small indie movies that don't get any love. And they especially don't get love around award season. You can't get a ticket to the Oscars. You're not going to get a ticket to the Spirit Awards, but you can go to Award This. We're doing it at a drive-in. That's right, a drive-in in Tustin, California, in conjunction with the Frida Cinema. It's going to be a fun event. We have a limited number of tickets for the drive-in, but everyone can come to our virtual event, which is on April 18th. Let's let John Bailey tell us all about it.
In a world where every award show is a fucking Zoom call, comes Award This. From your pals at Film Threat comes a celebration of true independent films. Join us on April 10th at a socially distanced drive-in. In fact, I'll be there as your announcer, wearing a hazmat suit and inside a giant Bacta tank. And prepare for a virtual award show unlike any other ever in the history of mankind, or awards kind. Award This 2021. It's happening, whether you like it or not. Drive-in live event on Saturday, April 10th. Virtual award show on Sunday, April 18th. Get tickets now at awardthis.com.
I hope to see you there. If you can't actually physically attend, go to the virtual event because it truly is unlike any other virtual event. You'll be able to chat with everyone that's actually there. I'm really excited about it, so I hope you check it out. But let's talk to Kevin Lewis now. Kevin Lewis is the director behind Willys Wonderland. Kevin, thank you for doing the Film Threat Podcast, man. I'm really happy to have you here.
Oh, Chris, so excited to be here. I just wanted to tell you that I've been a fan since the magazine was Xeroxed and stapled. My friend Kenny Yackel was a writer, same thing. Like, I've got so many friends that we've been huge fans of yours. So thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
Ah, thanks, man. Well, I appreciate it. And just for those folks, whether you're watching or listening, the magazine is like the internet on really thin slices of wood. It's paper. They used to read them back in the day. And they used to print comic books also on them. But yes, okay, yes. I appreciate it, Kevin. That's awesome. So I've been doing this a long time, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You've been a film, obviously a film in the film geekdom world for a long time as well. This movie, okay, Willys Wonderland. Let's start out first with the concept. The concept is really fun, kind of something in the zeitgeist, a little bit like with Five Nights at Freddy. I don't really know a lot about Five Nights at Freddy. And then the Banana Splits movie kind of was a similar, but this is like, look, and I used to, when my kids were little, I went to Chuck E. Cheese. It smelled like dirty socks. I don't know what it is, no matter how much they clean that place, you'd walk in and there was just this pervasive smell. But that must have been that had to be the inspiration for Willys Wonderland, was just the actual Chuck E. Cheese.
For sure. I mean, we'd always talk about when Nick wanted to do it, it was like Nick Cage versus Chuck E. Cheese, right? That's like the easiest pitch. And yeah, I mean, I also grew up with Showbiz Pizza. And so for me, it was like really a throwback to Showbiz Pizza. And that's when I read Gio's script, which was great. And it was just bonkers. And I was like, man, this is my chance to make a movie that's a homage to the 80s. And, I love Sam Raimi, Evil Dead. Sam Raimi's my favorite filmmaker. I saw retro in the script. I saw 80s. I just saw fun. I saw wild and crazy. And that's what I wanted to make. And I wanted to make a movie for all the boys and girls and the geeks out there, the film geeks. Like that was the intent. So,
well, it definitely had like an 80s vibe, especially with there's a group of kids sort of led by this girl who had a tragic, she has history with the venue. Let's just say that.
yeah.
And she and her friends, that's where sort of it definitely felt like 80s. Also sort of the man with no name like hero, which Nick Cage embodies. I gotta ask about Nick, getting him involved to do this. First, how did you get him involved to do this? Secondly, did you tell him, and please, like, he has no lines in the movie, like literally doesn't speak a word of dialogue. And also it had to be a little intimidating for the fact that you're talking to an Oscar winner and a guy that, like, I don't care what Nick Cage is in, I'm just going to watch it because it's Nick Cage. But how did you get him involved? And then what was it like to work with him?
So, we had the script, Jeremy Daniel Davis brought it to me. And interesting story, Chris, is Siren Sarah, Jessica Davis, was basically in an acting class with Geo Parsons, the writer. And she liked the script and she brought it to her husband, Jeremy Daniel Davis. And I've known Jeremy for a while. We have a history, and he brought it to me and I immediately loved it. And so we started working on it, and I got artwork done for it, and kind of character, sketches for a couple of the characters and some keyframe art done. And so then we partnered up, and we basically got an offer to Nick, and we took it to his manager, Mike Nylon, and Mike was great, and he loved the script, and he sent it to Nick, and Nick read it and loved it, and we were off to the races. I mean, when Nick signed on, it still took almost a year for us to get the movie made. But Nick was so loyal, and I mean, he's just an amazing guy, and all I can say about Nick is three things, okay? Incredible actor, we know, Academy Award winner, and he's almost a genre to himself. And he's just amazing in that. And then, but number two, fantastic partner to make a movie with. We saw eye to eye creatively the whole way through, not one disagreement. We were on the same page the whole way through. And number three, an incredible human being. He's just a good person, and I'm really big about that with chi and energy and things like that. I really believe in that. And when you meet Nick and you just feel it, he's just one of the rare good guys, and it was just wonderful to work with him. I can't say enough.
Well, it's weird. I had the opportunity to meet him one time doing a film junket when I used to do television, and he absolutely right. He's one of those guys that I think is disarming, where he actually takes the time to have a human moment with you rather than being, whatever your vision of him is, or being a star. He doesn't seem to care about that. Like, so I'd also, he obviously loves to make films, and I believe he's one of the rare actors that understands the craft. He really does. And I love that he committed so fully to this role. No lines, sort of like unfazed by some of the fantastical events that occurred. I think but that was his take. I mean, it worked. Like, let's talk about so Nick Cage. I mean, has to be a dream, and it's so funny you point that out. There should be just a Nick Cage genre. That's
totally
a genre of film. Tell me about the design. There really is there's like a history. There's a history to this place. You find out later that there's like a reason that the events that are occurring at this at Willys Wonderland, like why that's happening. So there's sort of this legendary history. There's how the locals are using it, but there's also what went into the design. So you created this lore in the story, but like the design of the characters, and then additionally, there's like a pinball machine, like that Nick Cage's character is just obsessed with. So what went into the design? How did you get all that stuff together and create these characters?
So in the original script, it was a video game that he played, like a Willy video game. It was like an 8-bit video game. And of course, on our budget and time, we couldn't build that. And actually, one of the producers had an idea about the pinball. and we loved it. It was a great idea, and so we built that pinball from scratch. And Molly Coffey was the production designer on the movie, and she did such an incredible job, and her and her team. And helped with the pinball, she with the sets, the whole design. My whole pitch on the movie was like colorful dark. I knew that we were going to make a dark film, twisted movie because it's got a kid's theme, but we're inside out, right? But I want to make it colorful, so the whole pastels and things, because that's what these places are. When you go in, for the kids, and so we just worked with that. I worked with my cinematographer, Dave Newbert, incredible, amazing job that he did, fantastic. And we all just, worked together, and we all had the same vision. And I was talking about, the words that I always used for the movie was like punk rock rave at 2 a.m. Like that was my go-to, and I just wanted to make a midnight, cultish movie, that back in the day in the 80s when I went and saw Evil Dead and stuff, like Evil Dead 2, like we drove to a theater an hour and a half away to check it out, that was always at the center every time, every day shooting this movie.
It definitely has that, like, I love that you said colorful dark, because it does look like some kid took a black sheet of paper and then just colored all over very vibrant colors. Now the movie's on video on demand and streaming, but I also think that this is a movie that, like, so many films now coming out on video on demand, that's iTunes and Amazon and Vudu and all that. And I buy them myself. There's so much better in the theater at the drive-in. You know what I mean? I feel like this movie would be, if you were at the crowd and you're enjoying a beverage, you know what I mean? It's like even better. I thought I saw that it's at the drive-in. Is that right? Is it in drive-in? Okay, good.
It's actually tonight. I'm going to go to the Frida Cinema in Orange County. They're screening it with the double feature of that and Psycho Gorman. How cool is that?
I love what a great pairing. If those are two films together, and the Frida Cinema, that's where we're doing our award this year. It's so they're cool. Doing it on they do a pop-up drive-in that's on the roof of a parking structure. Oh my God, great. Well, say hi to Trevor and everybody at the Frida Cinema. We've partnered with them to do our award this thing. But I love that the movie really sticks to its vision. Right. And the punk rock rave thing, it's like I'm sitting here trying to like explain to a friend of mine that I saw this movie that kind of fucked my head. And I'm just like, and you just took the words out of my mouth, that the punk rock rave totally nails it. And then also the sort of over the top comical gore. I mean, I definitely now see the Sam Raimi influences. Were there other influences that you wove into it?
Oh, I mean, I love, movies so much. I'm such a film fan. So like movies like Drive is one of my favorite movies of the last decade. I think that movie is so amazingly put together. Movies like Revenge, which I loved. Just Let the Corpses Tan. That was such a movie for inspiration. I knew the script is just so crazy and off the wall. And so the idea was like, there are no limits, I just wanted to make, it's so funny. We were like working on a, camera angle, doing a Dutch and we're like, well, is this too much? And it's like, no, it's Nick Cage versus an animatronic weasel. Like, we're going to go like this, it's like, that was the whole vibe. And I'll tell you, the cast and crew were so amazing and just great people. And they smile on their face every morning and till every night, man. Like, we got along so, just fantastic together. And we all were on the same page, the same vision. Everybody wanted to see this movie. We're all film lovers making a movie for film lovers. And, no one sets out to make a bad movie, Chris. You know that. I mean, movies are hard. Movies take a piece of your soul if you care about it, and I treated this thing, I know it sounds crazy and I've said it before, but I treated it like this, man. I treated it like, I'm just going to go out with this movie, which I almost did, by the way. I got COVID, and it's crazy. That's a crazy story in itself. Right before the movie came out, I got COVID pneumonia, and I was almost not here to seeing your beautiful face, buddy. So it's great. I'm here, I'm alive, and that's the thing. It's like this movie is just fun, and I wanted people with what's going on with the world and the political landscape and COVID and all that, just to enjoy themselves and have fun. And I just think we've lost that at the movies. Everything has to be, and I'm all for passion projects. I'm all for movies that make statements and move people and maybe move change. Like, I'm all for that. But I'm also all for this kind of movie, that we grew up with, in the 80s, like Return of the Living Dead, stuff like that. Like, they just don't make these anymore. And I just feel that there's kind of a snobbery sometimes to this. Like, oh, it's just, whatever, it's just a dumb kind of, rocks in your brain thing. It's like, no offense, I like dumb rocks in your brain thing.
I feel like, first of all, I agree with you. It's part of your balanced media diet. If you're,
I love that. That's awesome.
No, seriously, because I've dealt with just having gone to like Sundance and your very highbrow film festivals, that they take everything very seriously, and everything has to have some message of whatever the message is, or just pushing some sort of agenda. It's like, yes, and I also happen to love films like this, once you check your brain, you're just having fun with a group of people, and you can just kick back and enjoy it. And I love that the fights almost reminded me of like old school, like the 66 Adam West Batman.
Yeah,
totally. Relentless. And you're going like, oh my God, like Nick Cage is just like, and this is what I've always loved about Nick Cage, is he just commits. It doesn't matter how ridiculous the scenarios, he commits. And he definitely did that in this. And so, I mean, I don't know what kind of film people you're talking to that could be, you know what this movie is, Willy's Wonderland. You're not going to be transformed or have a message necessarily. But when you have a good time, yes. You can even have a better time if you've got some edibles or consumables to expand your brain. I am curious though, because this is a type of movie, and I get annoyed by stuff like this sometimes, that like a film that like, the kind of film you're making. And then I feel like there's certain critics that they just don't get it. Right. I feel like genres like a Nick Cage genre or a horror film genre has such a fan base that they're kind of immune to critics.
Yeah. Critic proof.
I mean, you look at certain movies, like I love trauma films. I love films from like Charlie Band, like Full Moon. Corona Zombies is one of my favorite movies of last year. I don't know if you saw Corona Zombies.
No, I need to see it.
He made it like right when the lockdown happened. It was like the first film made during the lockdown. And but I love movies like that because you know what you're getting. It's sort of like, the once or twice a month when I actually go get fast food. I've seen Morgan Spurlock's movie. I know it's not good for me. I am still, but I'm curious. I watched the what really got my attention about your film is I watched the Red Letter Media review of it.
I hear they just rip us to shreds.
They rip it, but I actually really like those guys because most film critics, they're just critics. These guys actually understand film and the craft.
Sure.
Some of the criticisms were kind of like funny in the sense that like they were talking about how they were sort of speculating how you made it, because there's a lot of things you see like a hand or boots and you don't see Nick Cage. There's the close-up of Nick Cage. So can you confirm some of their I actually really love those guys at Red Letter Media. They're very successful YouTubers. I am an aspiring. My channel is what it is,
hey man, it's all look, to me, you got to take the good with the bad. It's like there's some things that I've read where there's some great constructive criticism. Some people said they wish the Willy fight was longer or whatever. Heck, man, I did too. I had 8 pages that day to shoot. That day I had to shoot the whole Lund stuff from when she meets Liv, and the deputy, and then I had to shoot the ending with her and Willy, and then I had to shoot the finale. I mean, so like I shot this movie in 20 days. So the thing is, Chris, you can't have a ticker at the bottom of the movie, right? And you're watching the movie and going, hey guys, by the way, I only had 4 hours. I wish we could do that. I had a film at a film festival one time, and it turned out pretty cool. It's called Dark Heart. And I was hearing, audience talking when we were leaving, and they're like, well, I like Dark Knight better. And it's like, well, you know what? I kind of like Dark Knight better too. It's Christopher Nolan. It's Christian Bale. It's $200 million Batman movie. Like, okay,
Right.
So yeah, but you can't do that, right? Like it is what it is. So I do like the constructive criticism. I actually think it's kind of funny. Like I don't get down on this stuff, man. Like, so I have friends telling me about like the red letter. I haven't listened to it yet, but I've had friends tell me, and they've agreed or disagreed on things, and they're great guys, But I will say this, and I'm not, so anyway, we live in a world now where you have to put a caveat to everything, like a disclaimer. But I will say, like, look at James Gunn. He started out with Trauma. Look at James Cameron, Corman, Piranha. I'm not comparing myself to those guys. So people go, Kevin Lewis now. No, I'm not at all. Long way to go. I'm just saying that look at these guys and what they started out with and what they became, right? And it's like genre is a great way to just not only just make movies, and for me as a filmmaker, like every movie I make, I want to get better and better and better, and I could solely, look at this movie and, a filmmaker always too, as an artist, like look what George Lucas said, right? Movies are never finished. They're abandoned. Willys now is abandoned, and it's for everybody. And to pick apart, to love, to whatever. And it's like, yeah, there was things I wish I could have done in this movie. Definitely. But man, for what we had, and I got to tell you, man, Nick, I mean, setting up shots, Chris, he wasn't in his trailer. He was right there with me and the camera crew. Sometimes I'd have a stand-in, holding the punch pop, and Nick would just come in and grab it and hold it. I mean, he was such a great partner to make this movie. He wasn't this actor's like, okay, shoot my coverage, and then I'm in my trailer. We're going to turn around, we'll get a stand-in to do it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not doing that. He was so game and was with us the whole time. And you know what he said, which I thought was amazing. It just shows you what a great guy Nick is. The last day of shooting, and we finished the big Willie fight. That was his last scene. And as he was leaving, he said to everybody, good luck with your movie. Good luck with your movie. Now, he's a producer on this. His manager's a producer. But he knows he's going off like Ghost Rider into the night, going to go make other films, going to do his stuff. And he can't really control maybe a lot of the editing choices or the post choices. And he's like, good luck with your movie. Although it is his movie, he's the one that helped get it financed. Nick Cage, right? That just shows you what an amazing guy he is. That one line and what he said, and he meant it. He said that and he kind of looked at me, and it wasn't like we give this big hug and before Corona, right? Big hug and all that. Like, it was just that acknowledgement. That's all we needed. That was the last time I saw Nick, and it was good for me. And that's just what a guy he is. So,
well, I would say a Nick Cage recommendation is probably the best one. That would be the best one. So, in spite of what Red Letter Media thought, which I and I like those guys, but a lot of times I'll see a movie get a quote bad review because I don't think it was that bad. I think that they like to poke fun at stuff.
They do. They're very funny. They're very clever.
I love those guys. But a bad review is like, oh, now I really want to see it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be talking to you now if I didn't like catch that on Red Letter Media, because I'm like, oh shit, I have to see this movie now because I want to decide for myself. I love different perspectives, and what I also really love is I really enjoy, especially when it comes to a film conversation, I love people that I disagree with, and because that's how you learn something. You don't learn something with sitting in an echo chamber and agreeing with everybody. You learn by hearing different perspectives, and you are capable of coming to your own conclusions. So whether you even agree with me or Red Letter Media or whatever the review, who cares about Rotten Tomatoes? Because I have filmmakers, who come to us say, I got a bad review on Film Thread. I said, don't tell anybody about it. Like, who cares? Or I got a great review. Tell everybody. But it's like so funny.
It was so funny you say that. Like, I remember talking to a friend of mine back in the day. I had a huge VHS collection, and we're talking about our movies, and it's like, we got our movies that that we love, but we know they're not maybe the best, but whatever. And I'm looking at my collection, and when I'm talking to him, I'm like, I'm just not a big fan of Tom Cruise. Like, the guy does, whatever, and he's like, yeah, and we're like bashing Tom Cruise. And I'm looking at my movies, man, and I'm like, 1, 2, 3, going. I'm like, holy crap! I am a Tom Cruise fan. Like, are you crazy? Like, I love Tom Cruise, and I'm looking at my stuff, and I'm like, oh my god! And it's like you said, those discussions, right? And
Right.
it's same thing with putting movies together, man. It's like we could all be in a room, man, and just see like, hey, that was so cool about Willys, because when we had the movie and went to Georgia, like everybody just clicked, like they got it, and everybody on the crew knew what the movie were doing. It's a very self-aware movie, okay?
Yes.
It was like, look, it's called Willys Wonderland, okay? So that should just tip off right there. Like the title's right there, and I know we're in the age of trailers, and I feel like the trailer really does it justice, and it's like it's kind of a mini movie there. So it's like that's what you're getting, and and you're right, and it's like it's so funny because I remember talking to the investors, producers at the beginning of this phase, and I was like pitching in my ideas, and I was like, I could have totally gone down the whole what the janitor represents in society and all this, and part of me was thinking that because I went to USC film school, and so it's like everything has to have a meaning, everything has to, and I was like, you know what, yeah, I could totally go down that, but why do I really want to make this movie? And I just told what you were saying about just a bonkers joyride film dripped in LSD that you don't have to take LSD, like that's how I kind of did it, and I want to see more movies like this, man. When I made this movie, it's like I want to see this movie, It's funny, I always thought about like Spielberg and Lucas. Raiders is one of my favorite movies, and it's like I love that movie so much, but it's like, man, they never really got to enjoy that movie from an audience because they made it, I'd always think about that. Even like Kubrick in 2001, another favorite movie of mine. Evil Dead 2. Like, what's crazy is these guys made this movie and stuff like that, but they never really sit back. They can't be objective. They're the filmmakers, And so at the end of the day, when I was making this film, it's like, I just want to make more movies like this and see more movies like this. And if this is a hit, maybe they'll make other films like this, and that's kind of what I wanted. And I think we got at a really good time, what you're saying about the theaters, the idea was maybe a Midnight Madness screening, and I was going to maybe release it Halloween. But with what happened with COVID, buddy, it's like, people have lost their lives. So that's a drop in the bucket, and hey, it's on now. I have 4 kids. I got 2 teens and two little guys. And the teens were having a watch party, 30 of their friends the night it came out. And I was like, wow, that is just awesome. And all their friends were pumped. And I was like, you know what? That's why I want to make movies, man. To see my kids like this. And, yeah, there's passion projects. There's things I want, but you know what? Right now, and as the older I got, especially with what I went through with the hospital, it's like, man, I just want to enjoy every minute of life. And if I could make these kind of movies, and if people will enjoy them, and reading, critics are one thing, but the audience is another thing. When I read someone with a mother said she watched it twice with her son, it was a great bonding thing. Or once said something about, what Willys is the cure to whatever ails you in life, and it's just, that makes me feel like so joyous. I know I sound crazy and probably such a square.
No,
this.
Dude,
It's true. It's true.
Look,
It's
a welcome break and a lot of fun. Kevin, thanks for talking to us, dude.
Hey, Chris, really enjoyed it.
Willys Wonderland is out. It's out on all platforms. Check it out. And Kevin, thanks for being with us on the Film Threat podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.